to talk a little bit more about the sales side, right? Because I want to make sure that we speak more about that. If that's exactly what you're looking for, I just want to make sure. So to build up the consistent deal flow, like you're saying, at a decent price point, when you're pulling lists, do you have access to Reonomy?
Access to CoStar.
Got it.
I
Good. Good.
subscribe with CoStar.
I understand. Okay, so you have access to CoStar. You don't have access to Reonomy, CREsync, or anything like that.
This week, I spoke with a representative from Reonomy, but I get the quote that they gave me for my Reonomy subscription. It was just a little too much for me to kind of take on right now with all the other stuff that I'm paying for.
Yeah, how what they say, 400?
Yeah, it was like 400.
Yeah, I get it. So yeah, so you can use CoStar. I mean, you've exported lists from CoStar before, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, similar to Reonomy. I mean, that's fine if you want to start there. And then, do you have an auto dialer that you use, or do you just hand
Yes,
dial?
I have a Mojo Dollar.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's all perfect. Because then, what I would recommend, I mean, obviously, if you're doing medical, so medical office for the most part, right?
Well, historically, yeah. So right now, let me just give you an example. So I have a client that's looking for a 4,000 square foot standalone building in Gainesville, Georgia. So
Okay.
right now, I'm just calling around Gainesville, looking to see if I can kick up something where you can find somebody looking to sell for the most part.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I mean, you could basically take on CoStar, Gainesville as an example, or even the greater MSA, right? Or close, or even that entire county, and you can export an entire list, or I guess up to 500 properties, right, of all the medical offices in that location, or any asset class that you choose, right? And you could start there, and I would even just say like, hey, making sure you're prospecting. Let's just say minimum. It's not the same as Reonomy when you're pulling lists with CoStar. You're gonna have to do something of like minimum square footages, so like a 10,000 to 30,000 square foot building. And if you want to control your price points, you can even say like maybe start with 20 or 30,000 as a minimum.
From the square footage.
Yeah, when it comes to
Yeah.
square footage. So you start with maybe 20,000 at the smallest, and just do 20,000 plus square feet for medical office in certain locations. You can even start looking at properties that have any type of level of vacancy, right? Like that was something that we also have done many, many times. So we target properties that have a minimum of 10,000 square feet of vacancy, and the building itself is above 30,000 feet, so that we can start prospecting those types of properties because we know that they have a need to sell, right? Or a possible need to sell. They have a vacancy. And you can keep growing that number, right? So you can just say like 10,000 for 30,000 foot minimums. You could do 40, 20,000 square foot vacancies up to 50,000, because you just want a bulk of the building to be vacant. Because then you can even call those owners up and like, hey, would you be open to selling? And then sell your buyers in the idea of like, hey, I can help you lease it up. So the biggest thing I would highly recommend is like similar to what you're doing for prospecting. You're already a rock star at the leasing space. If you just copy and paste the same thing in the commercial world when you're prospecting for sales, call it for however many calls you got to make on a regular basis every morning. Just do it the same thing for sales like you've done for leasing in the past.
Okay.
Okay.
And I mean that's just more so calling, asking them, are they willing to just sell? Me and my partner kind of interested in potentially purchasing a property.
Yeah, so I just dropped the script book in the chat here. You can download that, and literally, when you look at the script book here, you can open it up to any. Let's see here. You're going to do, let's see, multifamily, triple net lease buildings. So then there's office. I mean, obviously, like, look, you can basically go through the script. The opening lines are there at the top.
Gotcha.
It has everything you need. And obviously, if you get objections, you're not sure how to handle it, just come to me and ask any questions. I can tell you how to handle it.
Oh yeah, man, I'm used to hearing no, but it's the long no you don't want to hear.
That's correct. Agreed. Which is why, like, listen, man, I joke around because I'm from Jersey, because I just talk direct, I talk fast. Like, I want an answer, yes or no. I don't care, but don't give me a long maybe, right? Like, I don't need a maybe, right? Are we transacting or are we not? And that's why, like, everything that my script talks about is like, are you totally against selling the property, right? Like, it's not like, hey, would you be open to the idea of me evaluating your property for you? I don't do the long bullshit, dragged out stuff of like most commercial brokers who just like, oh, can I give you a broker price opinion? Can I massage your feet for you? Right? I don't do that. I'm like, are we selling the property or you're not selling the property? I want to know. So thank you. Have a nice day. That's it.
Likewise.
Exactly. So again, when you're creating the consistent deal flow, the price point, I would just really, if you're pulling from CoStar only, I definitely would just recommend a minimum square footage or a minimum tax amount. That probably would help you keep the ballpark of pricing at a certain range.
And what about? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Okay.
But what about taking down those properties? I mean, I don't just have like a wealth of capital just sitting here. That's like, so when you're going in, I think I spoke to you about this when I was speaking with Brandon.
Yeah.
But I don't have just a wealth of capital just sitting to the side saying, hey, look.
Wholesale them to start. Broker them to start. I'm not telling you to immediately start investing in deals. I want you to build massive levels of cash flows so that you have the cash to go do what you want.
Right.
So it's like my intent, like I've said before, it's like I don't look at every single deal like I should be buying. I look at the lens as if I should be buying it, but my intention is that I want to figure out what makes the most sense for each deal. The first lens I'm going to look at is buying it, but if it doesn't check that box, I'm going to wholesale. It doesn't check that box, I'm going to off-market brokering it. If it doesn't check that box, I'm going to list it for sale. Whatever fits the criteria, I'm going to do it. For the second one, you said attacking every asset class with the same level of confidence. So do you feel like there's an asset class that you don't have experience with or that you want to have more experience with?
I would say the asset class that I don't have the most experience with would probably be, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I have a working knowledge of all of them. I think it's more so underwriting them. I mean, I understand how a retail space works because I have to put tenants in retail locations. I mean, I kind of understand what the listing broker is attempting to do and what the seller needs and how to position certain deals to get them to work. And then when you go into multifamily, I mean, it's still a unit mix type of deliverable. So, I mean, I'm pretty good there. It's more so underwriting them to the point where I'm like, all right, this is going to make sense. This is what an investor is looking for.
Gotcha. So every Thursday, so tomorrow, right, we're going to spend time during our training. Okay. You're going to see me underwrite any type of property somebody brings me.
Okay.
And you can submit every week, every Thursday, you can submit every Thursday, you can submit a deal, any type of asset class you want and say like, hey, here are the details. I'll give you this. Right. So you're doing retail and medical office. Hold on a second.
Yeah, retail medical office. And I mean, right before we got on the phone, right before we got on the phone, I just got a guy who has 104 acres down in Macon, Georgia. He's wanting to go for 20,000 an acre. But I'm like, I got to peel back the layers on that and figure out, what it's really worth.
All good.
And then he has another 9 acres in Warner Robins.
I'm going to give you,
because right now what I did was I went on Fiverr and I spoke with some guy who's like really detailed in finance and he kind of creates performance. So I kind of explained to him what I'm looking for, but essentially like a deal analyzer where I would be able to initially be able to pinpoint whether or not this is a good wholesale commission.
So this is exactly what you're going to need. I got you right now. So you're going to this is my underwriting spreadsheet for retail. You could use it for office as well. So jump in here. And then what I want you to do is just go to file and make a copy for yourself. But this is everything you're going to need. All you're going to have, you'll see me use this spreadsheet, this exact spreadsheet every Thursday. And you can literally go through the modules in the underwriting trainings. Okay, all the recordings are there from every previous one that we've done. You can just watch them and watch them and watch them and watch them, and you'll see me plug in details, and you'll easily be able to get a grasp of it. What I highly recommend is when you get a deal, every single time you get a deal, make a copy of your master copy. Do not use your master copy. Make a copy of it so you always have one that's not touched. So in case you got something up. I've done that before.
Yeah.
So just make sure you do that. And then second thing is whenever you get a lead, practice doing it. Put in the numbers, plug in all the details, and then you'll come to a conclusion. And then you can send me this link for the Thursday trainings, and I can give you my feedback and be like, hey, change this, change that. Like actually, you'll send me all the details, the rent roll and everything, and I'll give you some feedback along with it. Okay. I would just say like, listen, I've used this sheet thousands of times. Just the more you use it, the better you get, the faster you know how to, quickly underwrite property. So this will be a really easy way for you to do that. And if you have any properties, by the way, right now, you could start using it. If you even want to just use a listed property that you have now, you could do that as well.
And I'll get into the model. I mean, after we get off, and I'll start tinkering away at it and figuring out how it populates.
Cool. That works. Next question you had here is brokering off-market deals, quickly finding buyers for deals.
Recently, I had a client, the same client, as a matter of fact, that I'm looking for a property in Gainesville. I'm rarely ever in Gainesville anyway. But I was, just calling around, and I found somebody, older lady, who was looking to sell her building. I was trying to get her under contract like around 1.7, hoping that we can possibly do something around 2.1. She wouldn't necessarily bite, so we end up going. I mean, I locked it up at like 1.9. And I couldn't find someone to purchase it, right? So then it was to the point where I was like, all right, I got to do something. So I kind of backed out of the deal, and then I was like, look, this is what we can do for the next 30 days. We can put it on market and kind of figure out exactly what the true value of your property is, and get you the best that we can. So we ended up doing that, and then it ended up selling for like 1.19. So I was like, well, there we have it.
Yeah. So our process is we find a deal. We make them an offer right off the bat. Okay, I make a starter offer based on their counter. I can then take that information and all the information they're willing to provide, their counter, a rent roll, all the details I can get from them, and I'll bring it out to my VIPs. Okay, I have a couple, half a dozen. I'd say for someone like yourself is really achievable. I have dozens and dozens of VIP guys for different subsections of markets, different asset classes, all you can imagine. And I bring it to a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people. Okay, who I really trust, who I know can give me at least some honest feedback and possibly an offer on this deal. And I get that quickly, okay, within the next 24, 48, 72 hours. So within the first, call it 3, 4, 5 days of getting a lead, they got a starter offer from me. And then I take them out to my VIPs and I can get another 3 to 5 offers on it. Okay. Now that I have this feedback, I don't present those offers yet. I get the feedback. Now, based on those offers of where those people are going to be, I can then decide what I want to do with this property. Okay.
After you have it locked up.
I don't need it locked up. That's what I'm saying. I don't need it locked up. I've gotten a counter from the seller, and that's it. That's all I've got from the seller, right?
Yeah.
He says, like, again, he wants 10 million. I offered him 5. He goes, 5's not going to happen, but I'll do 8. Now I take the 8 and I say, can you get me a rent roll, a P&L, and all that kind of stuff? I now have all the documents. I take all the documents and I give it to my VIPs. Okay. My VIPs now give me feedback saying 6 million, 6.5, 7, 7.5, and now I have this information. And then I can go back to the owner and I can make a decision. Well, clearly, first offer I'm going to come up with, right? I started at 5. I'm going to go to 6 million, and I'm going to see how much room I have. Because if he agrees to 6, I sell it to my 7.5 guy. I make $1.5 million, right? But if he counters me back and let's say he says the best number I'm willing to do is 7.5 million, the highest offer I have is 7.5 million. I'm then going to go back to my 7.5 guy and everybody else and say, hey, the best number he's willing to do is 8. Okay,
Right.
I'm going to try to see what I can do, and I'm going to try to make a difference.
Essentially, creating your yield.
That's what
creating
I'm saying.
Create
the spread. Exactly right. Exactly. So, and then based on that, if the spread, let's say that I get my seller to 7.5 and my buyer to 8 million, I'll just make a 6% commission on 8 million and call it a day.
Depending on what that yield is or what that spread is.
Correct. It depends on the spread. Now, look, if he hypothetically, the seller say, look, if I got an $8 million offer from a buyer, and then I go back to the seller and say, listen, best number I can do is 7 million, and I get him at 7, and the buyer is at 8, I'm wholesaling. But if the spread's only $300,000 on an $8 million deal, that's not even 4% commission. I'm going to broker it, right? The spread dictates the path that I choose. Okay.
And when you broker, are you more so getting the buyer and or the seller to pay?
Seller pays.
Because what I kind of do is historically what I've done is I'll talk to the seller and I'm like, look, I know you have to net a certain amount. Is it all right if I add my commission on top of whatever?
Same exactly. Yep. I know you said that you need to net $7 million. No problem. I'm going to have my buyer put the price on top, but it's going to say that you pay for it because you can't finance commission. So it's like you want to net 7, the contract price is going to be 7.4. You're going to pay me a 5% commission and call it a day. All right, just that simple. Does that make sense? And then, again, for finding buyers, the best part about our business is it's all public information. So I can literally go last 12 months worth of sales, look at every single property that's sold in the last 12 months, find the person who bought it, and give them a call and say, hey, I have a property just like the property you just bought at 123 Main Street. Would you take a look at it? Don't make it complicated. I mean, in Reanimate, it can actually show me everything they own. So I can see every property that they own. And I can see, I can filter people by who own 10 plus properties in a certain market. And I can be like, hey, you bought 10 properties in the last 5 years, all in this sub-market. I have another property similar to the ones that you have here. Would you take a look at it? Yes, of course. It's all public information.